All right, I'm going to show you guys real quick here how to pull one of these clusters apart and go through a couple of things. Uh, this one is already tore apart because I use it as a parts cluster for another cluster I have. So once you guys get the cluster taken out, you got total of 6 screws. The 2 bottom screws here hold the lower part of the clear plastic and the black plastic shroud here onto the main body of the cluster. So you pull those two and you pull the upper two, your clear plastic will come off. If you're fortunate enough, you still have a rubber protector over your triptych, pull that off first. If not, when you pull the clear cluster off, it'll go flying somewhere and you will lose it. Pull the remaining 2 screws, one on either side, and your black plastic piece here will slide off. That will leave you with this. Now, easiest way to take the actual gauge face off is take a butter knife or screwdriver and you stick it up underneath and you slowly pry around. Everywhere one of the gauge needles goes through is a stepper motor. So you want to try and get as close to that as you can and just slowly start working it up until it's evenly lifted off from the base of the cluster. And just keep going around and it'll finally pop. Now, when you take it off, don't just pull it straight out or go right to left. You want to go left to right with it because this is already disconnected. You see that ribbon wire right there with the connector? It's on the back of the motor for the odometer. That connects to that guy right there. There's enough play in there that you can tilt it up and you can actually reach your fingers in there, grab it, and work it off. If you do that, now is obviously a good time to replace all of your backlight bulbs. Because that's the only way to replace them is by taking the cluster off. Your rod for your triptych does not come out. That stays in. You have 2 screws there for your triptych, and you have 2 screws there for your odometer. Take the odometer off first. Slide that out of the way. That just 2 screws, lift straight up and then kind of slide it off to your right. Because that spring, both those shafts are keyed in there. And I can't remember for sure what way is best. I think you can take just the triptych off and then slide it to the left, and that will disengage from your odometer. But either way, pull those 2 screws, lift up, slide to your right, and that will take your counter off the back of the cluster. The wheels are retained by a small metal washer. You've got a slot there that the shaft rides on, and you have the shaft over here that engages a spring for the triptych, and that's driven off the odometer. And you can see that is also slotted on the bottom, so once that's removed, that will come out. And then it's just a matter of working that metal washer off in there and sliding it out piece by piece. There's really not much to these. So if you're swapping clusters, just be forewarned, changing the mileage is illegal. It is against the law. Do with that as you will. That's your responsibility. But some guys who are going from a non-tack cluster to a tack cluster want the mileage to read the same. That's all personal preference. And then installation is just the is the reverse of how you uninstalled it. Be very careful not to break that spring. Those are pretty much made out of unobtainium, like most things are anymore. But yeah, that's how to take the gauge face off of a cluster. Be able to swap out your light bulbs or rob stepper motors for another one.